Hello guys, welcome to another video in this course. Now in the previous video, I showed you guys how to use template engines, the EJS template engine along with our Express, So in the previous video, we rendered some template files in form of EJS to the client, and also we binded dynamic values to this template. So in this video, we want to take this a step further. I'm going to show you how to use static files with Express. Now, static files are files that we have on our server that don't change. For example, our style sheet is a static file. It's not something we want to make changes to. It's just something that we have that we write once and add to our server. And also things like images that we have on our websites, or audio and video files, or any other files like that, they are referred to as static files. So by default, we won't be able to have access to our static files in Express, but um, we can also use with the help of a middleware to enable our Express server to read static files. So that's what we're going to do right now. So the first thing we need to do, just as we did for our view engine, we also need to create a folder for our static files. So you can name it anything you want to name it. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new folder here. And okay, not inside views. I'm just going to step out of here and create a new folder. I'm going to call it public. You can call it static, you can call it any name you want. I just choose to call my public. So yeah, so we're now going to tell Express that this public folder is a folder that contains all our static files. So whenever you're looking for a static file, search for it in the public folder. So alright, so we have a public folder created for us, and now we want to use a middleware, a built-in middleware with Express. So as to tell Express where to look for whenever it's looking for a static file. So we're going to do that by saying app.use once again, and like I said, this is a built-in middleware, so that means we have to use Express. We have to access it from Express. So we're going to say express.static, and in this static function we want to put in the path um or the path to the folder that contains a static assets. So in our case, it's just going to be forward slash dot and forward slash then public. So the public folder is a folder that we're saving for our static files. So whenever we want to have a static file on this website, we're going to put it in our public folder. So to test this out, I'm just going to grab some files from here. So I have a folder that contains styles for my style sheet, and also one that contains an image, model.jpg. So I'm just going to copy these two files right here into our public folder. So now here we have the styles folder, which by the way just contains um some styles that I added on my own. So these are just basic CSS styles. You can go ahead and write any styles that you want. So these styles will actually be used along with our EJS right here. I'm going to show you how to import them right here in our EJS. So we have a style sheet and we have an image here. So now, because we've specified a public folder, or a folder that contains a static asset, we are now able, or will now be able to import our style sheet into our EJS file. So to do that, I'm going to head over to my EJS file right here, and in the head tag, just the way you link your CSS to your HTML file, that's also the same way we're going to do it here. So inside the head, I want to have a link tag for CSS. So after having this tag, now um normally you want to do something like this. Okay, we're inside the fields folder. So on a normal day you do something like this. Step outside, step into public, then look for styles. and welcome the CSS. Now this is how we do it normally when we're working with HTML files, but this is not going to work in our case. So let me just test this out and show you that it's not going to work. I'm just going to run it in my console. npm start. Okay, so our server is up and running. So let's just check for it in our browser. I'm just going to navigate back to the first part that we have here. So as you can see here, none of the styles are being applied right here on our document. So that means our EJS is still unable to locate this, but we directed it to the path that contains to the folder that contains a file. We really linked it to a file. Why is it not working? And that is how Express treats static files. So whenever you have static files, you can't just link them this way. Express doesn't recognize this, so you have to use the URL to access them. So you have to use the URL. Now, I'm just going to do something and I'm going to explain what I'm about to do right now in an instance. So we're going to write HTTP, then localhost port 8000. So now whenever we want to use any of our static files, we need to make a request, something like a get request for our static files. So now we need the styles and the welcome.css, which is inside the styles folder in our public folder. And remember, we specified that our public folder is a folder that contains our static assets right here in our index.js. So that means we don't have to do slash public again. So automatically recognize public as a folder that contains static assets. So whenever we need to use any of these static files that we have in here in our public folder, we make a request to localhost 8000 slash the folder slash the file that we're looking for. So that is how we'll be able to access that's how we'll be able to access our static files like our style sheet. So if I go back to the browser and refresh this, sorry, if I should refresh this now, you can see I have the styles applied. Like I said, it's just some basic styles that I have here. So as you can see, it's laid out very well for us now. The styles are being applied right here. So yeah, that is how we deal with static files. And also I have this image here to also make use of it as an example. On our about.ejs file, we actually linked an image to our about. So we use the image tag with an src which links to localhost 8000 slash model.jpg. So we are going to also navigate to our about page and see if our image is coming up. And as you have seen in the previous video that our image wasn't showing up, but now if we navigate back to this page, we're going to see that our image is now showing up right here. So also if we come to our browser here and we do localhost 8000 slash model.jpg, now it's going to fetch our image for us. So that is what that's how we can use static files in Express. So we have to use a middleware to specify the folder that contains our static files, and after doing that, then we can access all the static files by just using the URL of a server. So to demonstrate this once more, I can also do something like localhost 8000 slash styles slash welcome the CSS. So this is actually the CSS file, and if I make a request to this, as you can see, it returns our CSS file for us. So you can also use this means or this method to render HTML files to your client side. So if you are building a website with HTML and you're using JavaScript as your backend or as your server side language, and you find yourself using Express, so this is something you can do. All you need to do is have your HTML files in your public folder and you can throw them to the user. So whenever the user makes a request, you can just throw the HTML files directly at them. So that's that about using static files on our website. or in Express with Express. So in the coming videos, we are going to also make more use of our static files in our public folder in Express. And until then, please remember to leave a like to this video if you find it helpful, and also subscribe to this channel if you've not done so. I'll see you in the next video.